Hey everyone, and welcome to 121 in Flux. I am Peter, that is Connor. Happy Alien Day. Now, of course, that means nothing if you're watching this after it goes up, like a day later, say, or any time in the future. But this has been posted on Alien Day. This is the 26th of April, and that is LV-426, which is the planet where the ship was found on in the first movie. So it's become a kind of a thing for the past 2 years. A bunch of Alien comics are coming out today. I think they're putting out like a new clip or something for the new movie today.
They'd be kind of stupid not to, wouldn't they?
Yeah, it's an obvious thing. I'm almost like it's so close to the release date. I'm wondering why they didn't just push the release up a couple of weeks and just go, it's out on Alien Day.
Yeah, maybe they just needed these extra couple of weeks.
Maybe, I don't know. It feels like such a perfect thing to do if it's this close that it's just
It
weird.
does. It does.
But yeah, so we talk about movies on this show. We talk about old movies, sometimes classics, sometimes B movies, hidden gems, stuff I've seen, stuff I've not seen. This one's another, obviously, we're doing another Alien movie. We're doing Alien Resurrection. This is the fourth one. We already did in the first three. Well, there'll be links to those, the playlist with those in it around the screen right about now. But we've done the first three. Connor had seen the first two before. I've seen all of them before. So this time, Alien Resurrection, I've seen it before. Connor hasn't, and we're gonna talk about it. So, I guess we'll start spoiler free for this one for a little bit.
Yeah.
We have some general thoughts before we move into spoilers, but so this is the fourth one. This comes after Alien 3. Of course, Alien 3, very harshly received, I'll say.
Yeah, that seems fair.
And Alien Resurrection is, of course, this weird thing. Jean-Pierre Jeunet was brought in to direct it to give it a sort of different style, and he brought a couple of actors that he likes to work with along with them, because Ron Perlman, for example, and Dominique Pinon, who was in Delicatessen, which we actually reviewed on this show a couple of months ago.
Yeah, we did.
So you can go check that out too. But so he comes in, and the plot of this one, and I guess I should give a spoiler warning for Alien 3 because you kind of have to even say what the premise of this one is. But Ripley is resurrected
Yeah.
by it's not quite the company, it's not Weyland-Yutani anymore, but she's resurrected because they know she's got an alien queen inside her. So they resurrect her so they can resurrect the queen and therefore get their hands on the species, on the xenomorph, and
Same old, basically.
basically, we're on a ship. So Ripley's not quite the same Ripley. She's like this new version of Ripley who's kind of weird. And we have this crew that came in who delivered cargo, which turns out to be the humans they're going to use to, have the facehuggers go on them. But we have this crew from the Bay, this ship called the Bay that came in, who are basically a crew of misfits. And yeah, obviously, eventually the aliens get out, chaos reigns. There's running through corridors, there's swimming away from aliens, there's all sorts of shenanigans, and there's weird things that happen towards the end, which we'll get to in spoilers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Connor, I am deeply curious. How did you feel about Alien Resurrection?
Eh, it was more consistent than the previous movie, and it kind of, at least it was a bit more solid in that sense. But I still kind of found it mostly boring for a
Right.
lot of it.
Okay.
There's things I definitely like, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of it where I'm just kind of like, okay.
I don't dislike Alien Resurrection. I think it holds up better than 3 does.
Oh, definitely, I definitely think it's better than 3.
Mainly because it's not, like, I think it's definitely schlocky. It's definitely more of a B movie than the first two are. Absolutely. It's got
Yeah.
that feel to it. Because there's no elements in the first two movies that I would describe as goofy, but there's elements of this one that I would
Oh,
describe as
absolutely, yeah.
goofy. And I think it's also got this thing going for it where it's kind of having to deal with the card that was dealt, the hand that was dealt from Alien 3, where
Yeah.
it left them in this place, so they have to, okay, what's the plot of this because of this? And Joss Whedon, who wrote the script, actually, I mean, I don't, like, I don't think he's particularly happy with the finished movie. This is back when a time before he was, like, directing his own stuff, and I don't think he was overly satisfied with the finished product, but that's just vague memory
I'm
from my
fairly
point.
sure he's not.
Yeah. That said, you can see some of the.
There are definitely moments where it's not played like it would be if he's the one directing
Yeah.
it, but there's moments like with the spider where you go, I can see that in his script.
I can see a lot of the stuff in his script.
Yeah, yeah.
But obviously.
Even the core group of this misfit pirate crew.
Yeah, it's basically kind of beta Firefly.
It kind of is, yeah.
Arriving at this ship, and you kind of get that feeling for it. There's even Ron Perlman's character is kind of Jane from Firefly.
He is, yeah. And that's the thing. I feel like his script was mostly intact. Like a lot of the, or at least a lot of the core ideas, if not the dialogue.
I think it's similar
But
to
it's
the
just
first.
the way it's tackled, isn't it?
It's similar to the first X-Men movie, and I suppose the Buffy movie, which he wrote but did not direct, and that's one that I know for sure he was not happy with the results. He didn't think the director got what the point was or what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
And I think here I think this one fares better. Obviously, the movie that fares best that he wrote and didn't direct is Toy Story. Toy Story
Absolutely.
is a fantastic movie, so that one obviously holds up the best. But comparing this to the first X-Men and comparing this to Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie with Christy Swanson, I think this one makes it out the best. Not because it keeps his humour all there or because it still feels like a Joss Whedon thing, just because at least you have Jean-Pierre Jeunet with nice visuals. The movie looks good. Like, it has a good style to it. It has a different...
Yeah,
has a distinct look.
it functions as its own thing, at least.
Yeah.
It's just that it feels like they took the script but didn't quite understand. Like, they got some tonal differences between the script and the direction.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, because I like how it looks, it has that kind of, it's not quite as extreme as his other movies, but I think Jean-Pierre Jeunet's like sort of gold yellow sort of style, that sort of tint he has,
kind of washed out. It took me a while to realize that, because obviously it's not a lot of color in this sense. It's kind of really dulled out, and it took me a while to realize that what Ripley was wearing was actually red and not just black. It's a dark red.
I never had that issue, but fair.
It just it never like I just thought it was black, and then at one point I was like, hang on, that's red. And then it was just like, oh, okay.
For me, I mean, I think I like it more than you do. I don't love it by any means. It's kind of, for me, it's just a sort of typical B movie that happens to have the alien characters in it, or the alien monsters in it. And you've got this weird version of Ripley. It does, I think it's a perfectly fun movie. And then the final 20 minutes kind of fall off a cliff. Now, admittedly, I will say this, on this viewing, because it's been a long time since I've seen it, I can tell you how long it's been since I've seen it, because the last time I seen this was before Breaking Bad. Because when Tuco showed up on screen, I was like, "It's Tuco! He was in something before Breaking Bad! Yay!" So that shows you how long it's been. It's been a good decade since I've watched this. Actually, what was really weird is, because obviously we both watched this, the Blu-ray of this, and it says, pick your cut, and we both watched the theatrical cut, but and I'll explain why in the spoilers why we watched the theatrical cut. There's not a big difference, but
I need them explained to me still. So
you've only seen this version, but it says 1997 theatrical cut. That stuck out to me for two reasons. One, it for some reason in my head I thought it was 96, which isn't a big deal, but for whatever reason I did. But the thing that really stuck out to me though is it was like 1997 theatrical cut, 2003 special edition, and I was like, oh yeah, that's when the quadrilogy came out. I remember buying that DVD. Like, I had that DVD box set when it first came out. And I was like, man, was this movie only 6 years old when that box... Because it already felt like...
It's still relatively fresh, isn't it?
Yeah, it felt like, it was a complete set of four. And because I think I've seen all the movies around the time that this one came out, maybe just after, it was always a set of four. So it was always really... It just had this weird moment of, whoa, that was only 6 years old when, like, all this, like, special editions and stuff happened, and... Now
there's such a big difference between the first one and the fourth one.
Yeah. Now it's 20 years old.
Yeah.
I'm feeling ancient here. I mean, there's actually more time since Alien Resurrection than there was between Resurrection and 1? Yeah.
Yeah, just about.
Yeah, because 1 was 79, so it was 18 years between them.
Yeah, just about.
Jesus, that makes me feel old.
It's kind of crazy, isn't it?
It is, it's weird. Oh, damn. So that just stuck out to me. So I like how the movie looks. I will say, just in terms of the Blu-ray transfers, you can tell that this one didn't get the restoration. And it's funny, because back when the DVD box set came out, the quadrilogy, I remember, the image quality typically gets better the newer the film gets, with the exception of Aliens, because Aliens was on a grainier stock. But you could see that 3 looked better than 2 and 1, and 4 looked the best because it was the newest. And at the time, it was only 6 years old, so it was pretty new.
Yeah.
However, in this box set, it's actually weirdly not. It's the opposite almost.
Yeah, it kind of like they put all the love and attention into the first two.
Yeah, and 3 still actually holds up pretty well. I think it's maybe just the stock they used was held up better than the. I think maybe it was a case of when they did the DVD in 2003 for the new cut, they had to clean it up anyway, so it's been cleaned up more recently.
Yeah, it was already lying around.
Whereas Resurrection, obviously, it was, again, fairly new. They didn't feel like they need to do anything. And same with the Blu-ray, it actually looks the worst in terms of just the image quality.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, it doesn't look bad, don't get me wrong. It's still a
Oh.
1080p transfer. It's just clearly an older print
It's
of it.
perfectly watchable, but it's definitely it's a noticeable step down from the others.
It's not like when you put in the first two and you're like, oh my god, this looks astonishing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, it's not a big deal, but it's just it's something that I noticed on this, because again, it's been like over a decade since I've watched it, and it was just these things were sticking out. So that's kind of my overall feelings on the movie. I do think like the CG is a little bit better than it was in Alien 3, and it's used. There's one moment where I thought it was a little bit too much, but for the most part, it was used just in these quick moments where the alien had to move in a way they couldn't do with the suit.
Yeah. There's a few moments that feel a bit ropey here and there, but it's definitely better than 3.
Yeah. I like the cast for the most part. A little ragtag group, I think, are somewhat enjoyable.
Yeah.
The names we've mentioned, like obviously Winona Ryder's a major character in it as well. She's there to sabotage the efforts to bring the aliens back, and that plays into things. And there's all this. I think the movie, like I say, it watches a sort of B movie. It's very typical. It's very running through a spaceship trying to get to the exit as the.
There's a lot of running through corridors.
There is. And if I have a complaint about that overall, it's mainly just that I feel like sometimes the presence of the aliens are kind of forgotten. It's almost like I feel like in the first movie, whenever towards the end when Ripley's going through the corridors in the spaceship,
It feels like it could be around any corner. It could just come out of nowhere.
Whereas in this one, it feels more like a slasher movie. Which, I mean, I like slasher movies, so I'm not complaining that much. But it loses something where that constant dread isn't there.
Yeah. I think for me, my biggest problem is, like you said, this one is much more of a B movie, and I think for me, B movie they have to be inherently fun, a bit, to get that extra level of enjoyment out of it. And for me, I didn't find that much fun in it. I think it was perfectly like well made to a degree, but it just wasn't fun for me.
I can agree. Honestly, it's kind of a weird one to talk about because I do oddly have some nostalgia for this.
Yeah.
I can't watch it freshly as an adult and say what I think of it. Like, I have this weird memory of watching it as a kid, so
that's fair.
it's kind of it's there might be some rose tinted glasses effect going on there. I don't know. Certainly, though, I noticed the visual style a lot more this time than I did when I was younger, and
Makes
stuff
sense.
like that. So, I'll tell you what I did forget though. I forgot how early on. So there's a basketball scene early on when the crew of the Betty meets Ripley, and Ron Perlman's character kind of is trying to flirt with her essentially, but he's been really, really upfront about it, really forceful. And Ripley ends up elbowing him in the face. And I'd forgotten how like one of his teammates just instantly grabs like a set of weights and tries to hit her with the weights. And I'm like, you know what? He kind of deserved that hit, and this is a bit much to.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we know Ripley can take care of herself, but at least he doesn't know who she is. It's a woman hitting a guy. He feels the need to pick up like a big weight and try and hit her over the head with it. You're going to kill her if you hit her with this.
Yeah. Bit over the top.
Which describes a few things. I'll tell you what I forgot as well. It was one of these things where I've forgotten it, and then just as it was about to happen, I went, oh,
Oh yeah, I know the feeling.
boxing gloves. I did not remember they trying to drink it wasn't coffee, it was alcohol, but drinking out of the cup with the boxing gloves. I'd completely forgotten about that until the moment where her hand's just about to come up from under the table. I was like, wait, she's going to have boxing gloves on, isn't she? But then I tricked myself later on. There was some stuff later on where I thought something was about to happen and I was wrong. I'd implanted my own memories in my head.
It's been too long since you've seen it.
Yeah, I'll tell. I can't say what it was because it's full on spoiler territory, but I'll say it later.
I guess another thing for me in general that is, I mean, right, Ripley's back. That's it, and I'm not sure I necessarily needed or wanted that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's this weird thing where they felt like they needed her, and it's. I would have liked Ripley post Aliens had it been not killing off everyone else from Aliens. I'd liked that movie, and obviously we were kind of
We
talking
spoke about that in
yeah,
3, yeah.
almost getting that. But here I could have just had a non-Ripley movie, like
Yeah, I feel like for all of Alien Three's faults, it did close off her story. And this felt to me like, okay, what can we do without her? And then we're like, well, we don't know, so let's just bring her back.
I'll give it some credit though. It does try to play with this idea that it is
does.
her that's back, and there's like these weird fragments of memories coming in. Like there's a few times in the movie where she'll say a line of dialogue from a previous movie that wasn't hers. She'll quote Newt, or she'll quote, I think, Vasquez at one point. She quotes, and it's like she'll quote these different things.
Yeah.
It brings back a lot of stuff from the Alien franchise that was missing in 3 as well. The idea of there being an android, the idea of the computer, it's its father now, 'cause it's a male voice, but it was mother in the first movie. Like,
it's a nice touch.
It brings back all these little things that maybe they weren't there in the last one, because it was just this prison planet, and we didn't really get to see any of the usual stuff. It's set 200 years later, which... it's funny, because they could have said it was 10 years later and I'd have believed them. There's not really much to indicate.
There's no visual signifiers or anything else other than them telling you.
There's a couple of small plot points that kind of lead into it.
Sure, I guess the biggest one is probably like the company itself.
The company, the fact that some of the characters think Earth is a shithole, whereas in the first movie, Ripley seemed excited to go back home to Earth.
Yeah, but that one you can kind of write off as just...
Maybe those characters just think it's a shithole.
Yeah.
You could write it off that way, but... and then also it sounds like the androids have advanced quite a bit as well in the time.
Yeah.
That's the one main thing I think shows you the time difference.
It did make me laugh, because this one, it wasn't called an android, it was called an Auton, and that's a Doctor Who villain.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which has been around since like the 70s.
Yeah, okay, cool. But nah, so that was the thing. So let's go spoilers. I think we've danced around enough. Let's get into some deep plot details.
Let's do it.
So full spoilers from this point on for Alien Resurrection, the 20-year-old movie, just in case you're concerned. So the thing that I said that like the memory that I kind of gave myself, and I was like, is this about to happen? I'm not sure if I'm remembering this right. Is it about to happen? So the hybrid happens later on, because early on in the movie we find out that Ripley has some acid in her blood. Like her blood is, because the cloning, and because it was inside her, there was weird mutations going on, and it's left her with some traits. She can sense their hive mind, and she's got some acid for blood. And we find out later that the alien queen that's on the ship has a proper reproductive system now. She lays some eggs first, but then she also actually gives birth to this hybrid that has some human qualities and has this weird skeleton-like face. An alien head.
Yeah, that wasn't working for me at
No,
all.
I don't like that monster. I never liked that monster.
The design, I'm just like, it just takes me right out of it.
Because it's not as slick as because the alien's got such a cool design, right? The Queen has such a cool design, and then this creature just feels like, oh, your typical B-movie monster. Like someone came in and tried to copy Alien with this
And put a face in it.
Yeah, it doesn't really work.
It just doesn't work at all.
But the fake memory I had in my head was that I could have sworn I would have placed money on this, that this thing spoke.
I mean, I was going to say, is it possible it happens in the special edition?
I don't think so, because for some reason I remember it actually saying mummy or mama to Ripley. I don't think it ever happened. I think I'm making it up. I think it's just
one of those things that because you saw it as a kid, and you know.
I just remember it, and
It's that whole thing where it went around like last year or the year before with C-3PO's leg. Did you see this on the internet? Where everyone remembers it as one color, and then it's like, no, it was always that one. Yeah. And this is maybe you're doing the same sort of thing here, where just because you assumed it happened, and it's
called the Mandela effect.
Yeah, and you just assumed it's happened, and then you've become so sure of it over time, and it's been so long since you've seen it.
Yeah, although C-3PO used to have the same color on both arms. I'm right in saying that, right? I'm not making that up. Yeah. That's okay.
No, that's all right. You're good on that one.
The new red one was a joke, and that was supposed to be a new thing, right? Okay, just checking.
That would really mess with your mind.
It was always red.
It was always red. What are you on
about? No, but for some, it was when the hybrid goes up to her, it's like really close, and it's like, and it makes some noises. It makes some sort of
when she puts the head on it. Yeah.
It's like, I can't do it. It's like these little noises. I was like, is I about to say it, or am I making this up? And I kept questioning it, and it was just, but obviously it didn't happen, and that's fine.
I'm glad it didn't happen, because it was bad enough with the face, but if it had spoken, oh no,
Oh
that
yeah.
would have that would have been way too far.
Yes, it would have been. Um, I, at least I can appreciate what the thematic intent was with this.
Yeah,
Because obviously we had aliens and she had her mother-daughter relationship with Newt, and that was a big part of her personality and her character. The idea that through the cloning and stuff, if her traits have went on to other things, like, this is essentially monstrous Newt that's been
yeah,
that's been birthed
yeah.
from the Queen. Like, I can appreciate what it's trying to do there, and the idea that when Ripley does kill it at the end by letting it suck through the hole in the spaceship, which by the way was a really icky effect. Because
Yeah,
you see all its
kind of like
intestines
that.
spill out and then it sucks back in.
Yeah, I kind of liked that.
It was fine. Like it was good.
That was a goofy thing
It was really
with
goofy.
how, but it was the sort of goofy that worked compared to the goofy face that didn't.
Well, okay, okay. Uh, but yeah, the idea that that happens and she's like, "I'm sorry." Like she still feels bad that she's done it, even though she knows she has to. Like
Yeah,
she's still Ripley. She still understands. Like it's because she kind of has this arc, and I think this is maybe the fault of the film where it might have elevated it a bit more. Is if the arc of her regaining who she was clearer throughout the film. Because I think it is kind of in there, but it's a little bit too
it's kind of buried
underdeveloped.
under, isn't it?
Yeah, but some of it is there. Like, there's some small moments towards the end when it feels like she is back to her being herself, kinda.
Yeah,
Like,
like when she has the determination to stop them.
yeah, she has the determination, the way she like runs back to the ship and jumps, and the fact that she's sort of like almost having fun with them when she comes back into the ship, and like her and Ron Perlman are like they even get banter at this point, whereas earlier in the film they were at odds.
Yeah,
And even before that when she sort of bonds with Winona Ryder, Call, like,
cold.
and
Yeah,
she tries to like rip out Ron Perlman's tongue. It's like, "Do you want another souvenir?" And they have this little smile. And it's almost like, oh, she's trusting her quicker. Because she turns out to be the android, she's trusting her quicker because of Bishop. Like
yeah,
Bishop's like implanted this that she maybe can sympathize. Which okay, so I like what they've done there. And that I like that the music also harkens back to the original themes. Like you can hear the themes coming through.
it does. I'm
Uh,
kind of torn on the music as well. In this, there's bits I like that, but then there's other sequences that I just thought were completely off. Like,
it, it goes full B movie.
it's
It lacks subtlety.
the underwater sequence. It does a very Jaws thing in
Da-na,
yeah, it kind of does its
da-na.
own. It's not quite that, but it's that same effect of what Jaws does, and it doesn't work for me in this scene. It's like this isn't what makes sense with the established score, everything else that we've got, and it's out of place for me. Things like that.
Here's a question: if you flip the notes in Jaws backwards, does it sound welcoming? Da-na, da-na, da-na.
Yeah, I
It sounds more
guess.
pleasant.
Yeah,
No, actually I want to talk. The one main difference. I'm sure there's some little things, but the only difference I remember from the other cut is the ending. You actually see them land on Earth. And
right.
for
Okay.
me, it's complete and utter bollocks because it doesn't make any sense. Because none of so throughout this movie, set in the second half, and like, oh, we can't let this ship get to Earth. We have to crash it. We have to kill them all. They can't get on Earth. And it's not just
Sure.
Ripley that's thinking this; it's the other characters who are around in this time period, right? And
Yeah.
they're like, "All right, okay, Earth's a shithole, but we can't let this thing land and have the aliens be there. We can't let that happen."
Yeah. Okay.
So at the end of the special edition, they land on Earth. Like they actually land. It doesn't just end with them in the sky. They land, and it's like apocalyptic. Everyone's dead. And they're like, "Well, why did it matter if the aliens got to Earth then? If there was no one here?" It
Yeah,
literally,
I was gonna say maybe that happened since they left, but then they're talking about like it. They say it's a shithole, so they clearly know this anyway.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work. It works better with them just thinking it's just a shitty place to live. Maybe it's all like the poor planet now where all the rich people are off
Sure.
elsewhere, kind of thing. That's kind of how I read it now, and it kind of ruins the ending because it puts this really weird damper on it. Whereas in this one, they get in the sky. We've never been on Earth in this franchise, so we get into the atmosphere of Earth, and like Ripley's like, oh, I don't know, I'm kind of a stranger here now too, and
Yeah.
it's a bit hopeful. It kind of works. So yeah, that's a stupid
Yeah.
alternate ending.
I don't like that.
Nah, it was weird. That's probably why they took it out. he's like, this doesn't make any sense. Let's take it away.
Quite possibly.
Yeah, that'd be my thinking. Yeah, so I think there are some of those weird quirky moments, like the boxing gloves,
Yeah.
which feel a little bit out of place. The basketball feels a little bit out of place in an Alien movie. There's a few other little things like that. But some of the things that do work, I like that when Ripley finds because she's like number 8, like there was like 7 attempts to clone her before this, and she finds this lab that's got like all these weird mutations. I like that there's one that's like a little girl, and it looks like Newt.
Yeah.
In fact, it almost looks like Newt's doll, the way the hair kind of is puffing out.
Yeah, it does.
So there's some small choices there with that, and I think that kind of works. I do like the underwater segment. I like that whole sequence.
Music aside, I do as well.
Because it's really, because we've never seen aliens in water, so it's like a new cool thing. Like, oh, they can swim. Oh, cool, right? That's kind of a new thing. We've never seen them in water before. And I like that they're really playing this one where, okay, they have weapons, so they can take them out. Like they do kill aliens. In fact, Ripley's entrance to the team, like after the aliens get out, and she like the captain dies first, and she shoots the alien through the floor and comes up, and it's like this badass. Like,
pretty cool.
Ripley's here. She's basically the Terminator now, as far as these aliens are concerned. She's not worried. She's lost her fear. There's no intimidation anymore, which was kind of her arc over the last 3 movies anyway. But this, because she doesn't really care because she's not really alive. She's this weird thing now.
Yeah.
It adds this extra layer to it where she is kind of like just a Terminator. You got the whole underwater thing. I love that they get to the other side of the water and it like they're trapped. It's like there's like a skin, and then when they get up, it's like all the eggs, and it's like, oh shit, this was a trap.
Yeah.
Goddamn aliens. And actually, I like that they explored how smart they are, like how they get out their cell.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
That's a really fun idea, I thought.
Yeah, well, I did like they had set up that, what the button does, and then when you see the alien looking down at it, and then just smacks it.
Yeah, they understand that this button really sees the cooling that hurts them.
Yeah.
So when they get out of the cell and there's a guy in there, they hit the button and it freezes
They
them to
learned.
death. Yeah.
And I did like that.
Which is good, because that again, that's in line with them being smart. We've shown this, because they cut the power in Aliens, like, they're clearly smart
like even in
creatures.
Aliens when they came over the top instead of through.
Yeah. They look for other directions to figure things out. And again, them using like the acid, like killing one of their own to like have the acid melt the floor so they can get out of their cell is actually really smart.
It is.
It's cold and brutal, sure, but it's smart.
Yeah.
So no, it's good. We got sleazy, evil scientist guy. We also have a character who has a chest burster inside him. When we meet him, he's one of the guys. For some reason, he's just not chest bursted yet, so he kind of sticks around. His ending is glorious, though. He kills the scientist by having the chest burster. He holds the scientist. He goes kind of nuts because he realizes he's about to die, and he starts to just like get this adrenaline and beat the shit out of him. And then he holds the scientist's head at his chest, so the chest burster goes through his head. And it's kind of
pretty cool.
It's awesome. That's what I'm saying. It works as a B movie with these like over the top schlocky kills and stuff.
It does, but it has again for me, it just has too much of just time going through corridors where it's not enough of these things happening.
Sure. I do want to point out there is a space shuttle that gets away when they're evacuating. When the aliens are first getting loose and they're evacuating all the soldiers. One does get away.
All right.
There's actual survivors. Like, people survived outside of our main crew.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's an interesting touch.
I was just thinking would have made this a more interesting movie for me. Obviously, I was saying that I don't think Ripley was the right choice because I feel like her story had been done.
Mm-hmm.
What if they'd cloned Newt instead?
Yeah, that'd have been interesting.
I feel like that would have been a bit more... Yeah, they take a different direction with it.
They wanted Sigourney Weaver back, didn't they? That was the thing. They wanted her back. Whereas now we're kind of past it because it's like it's been so long now, and the weird thing is this ends. You could have had her back again. Like, we now have this Ripley clone that's alive and she survived. So there could have been more, but for whatever reason, this one didn't make as much as the last couple. So 5 never happened for a long time until we get AVP and. Oh, we'll get to that next year. Although, it's going to be longer than we thought because the Predator got pushed. Because we're going to do the 2 AVP movies with the 3 Predator movies in the run-up to the Predator next year. But it got pushed to August instead of March now. So now
it's got delayed by a few months.
It'll be summer. It'll be summer next year before we get to that. But
Yeah.
The but no, yeah, no, it has a lot of problems. It's got some weird, like, it definitely feels, like I say, more schlocky than the first two. There's a certain, it's like I think obviously Jean-Pierre Jeunet is a good director, but I feel like because it's not his work, he just came in and he's like, okay, I'm going to direct this movie about a monster.
Yeah, it's the same thing for me. I think it boils down to he's the wrong director for this script, or alternatively, it's the wrong script for him. Whichever way round it, you want to look at it.
Yeah, I think you see some hints of his, like, his stuff in there,
Mm.
here or there. I I wonder, like, it's a frustrating one because he is a good director and you see his style, like, coming throughout, but it never quite clicks together
Yeah,
in that sense. And but at the same time, it's not, like,
it's
bad.
definitely not a bad
It's not,
movie.
yeah, it's not hard to watch. It's easy going. The characters are all well rounded enough. Like, you remember roughly who they all are. Maybe not their names because they all have weird names, but you remember Ron Perlman's the big tough guy who thinks he's macho. The guard who kind of flips, Tuco from Breaking Bad, and he's kind
Yeah.
of on their side. The sleazy scientist, Winona Earp. That's funny because
Every time you did that show,
every time I went to say Winona Earp when we did that show, I said Winona Ryder by accident. That is really funny. I just did the opposite. But Winona
I mean,
Ryder's,
it was literally every
yeah,
time we did that.
I know. But Winona Ryder's android, like, you remember them all distinctly. The dreadlock guy with the guns that came out of his thing, and
Yeah,
if it was like he had this, like, harness where, like, the little guns popped out. I liked it, by the way, that when they went on the ship, they're told no weapons, but three of them are all hiding a weapon.
yeah.
One's got it in a thermos, one's got it in his wheelchair, and the other's got his gun holster things in
I
his
liked the
wrists.
banter with the wheelchair guy as well.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Do you know what I liked? Do you know what I'd forgotten about? It was really subtle, but it is in there. He has a crush on Call,
Yeah,
and you see him, like, react a bit more to her because she helps him out at the start when he's being picked on, and when they think she's dead, he's pissed about it. And then when he finds out he's really happy that she's alive. Then they find out she's a robot, and he's kind of like, oh, you're a robot. But at the end, he's really happy again that she's okay. Like, there's this
yeah.
little, you can see this nice little sort of arc almost just in the background of him
Yeah, it
caring
is
about
quite
her.
nice. And that's the thing, is like this has all the makings of it could be a great movie. It just doesn't quite mesh up,
Yeah.
which is it's a real shame because there's definitely things to like, but it just ultimately just fails somewhere along the line.
That said, I've seen it a certain number of times now. It's been a long time since I've watched it last, obviously, but what this viewing cemented to me is that I actually do enjoy watching it enough. Like, it's probably one I will watch again at some point. I mean,
Yes.
it's easy enough to watch. And if you think you ain't seen nothing yet when it comes to bad, if we're not, we may do AVP 1 and 2 next year. Just especially the second one. One's not entirely unwatchable, but
I know the reputations.
but no. But yeah, so for me, the movie kind of falls apart when Ripley falls through the floor, and we get Queen and Hybrid and all that shenanigans.
It's just so out of place, isn't it?
It really, it does. It feels super.
And I don't know if it could have been fixed with a different design. Like if it just wasn't as goofy looking, would it have worked? I don't know.
I think the problem for me is that, and I get why Jean-Pierre Jeunet went this way because it fits his style, and this is maybe why he's not the correct director for this, but it's because it's treated so sensually. Like, the alien, like, carries her and places her down, and, like, we have Brad Dourif's, like, scientist character who got offed earlier on in the movie, or not offed, but, like, grabbed. Like, he's in his cocoon and he's given this weird commentary how he's talking about how beautiful this is and how it's a glorious baby, and it gets really weird for a good, like, 5-10 minutes, and once we get back to the ship and it's chestburster through a head, and it's like, oh, let's get the shuttle bay doors up so we can get out, like, all that stuff's fun, but
Do you know what? As well, for me, like a lot of these things, there, it's kind of at its core in the script. It's a goofy B movie, but so much of it is played straight. That kind of just takes. If this was played as a goofy movie, man, this could be really fun.
Yeah, I think, like, it's this weird thing. We're saying this, the few moments of goofiness actually stand out and feel awkward because of the only one, like, few moments, because everything else is so dark and gritty
Yeah.
right? And I do feel like maybe at its core, this wasn't the right tone, or schlocky B movie wasn't the right direction for the Alien franchise, because it has always kind of elevated above that. I still think schlocky B movie Alien could work though. Again, like we say, if it did actually play into it and went
It
with
kind
it.
of has to embrace it, doesn't it?
And I feel like this is the weird thing though. I feel like now maybe not at the time because Joss Whedon hadn't really directed anything yet. Because the first thing he ever directed was the season finale of the first season of Buffy, which would have been not that long after this actually.
About this time, yeah.
About this time, but I mean, by the time he wrote it, he'd have wrote this before that started probably. But you know, he wasn't a movie director. He wasn't doing Avengers, and he wasn't doing whatever else.
Definitely not someone you give your Alien franchise to.
No. And I have to wonder, like, I think him directing it though, because he does this great thing where he can balance weird comedy and serious. Like, I don't think when you watch his stuff, like Buffy, Firefly, whatever, Avengers, I don't feel like the stakes or the seriousness of the situation is ever deflated by when he inserts the goofiness and the humour. He's very good at balancing that stuff.
Yeah.
I think when we're talking about those stuff not mixing, we're talking about most directors. I feel like there is a select few who are very good at walking this line.
Yeah.
In balance and doing this juggling act, because you know Tarantino's very good at it as well. I know you don't like him very much, but he is very good at it.
That's fine. I'm not going to argue.
He's very good at keeping things really suspenseful whilst having characters say goofy shit. It's a gift. I don't know how he does it, and that works really well. But it is funny because you almost look at this and you go, you can almost imagine this crew that come in being the Firefly crew, but you could also imagine them being the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's the thing, I don't think it needs to qualify. I feel like this goes back to obviously we said it's Whedon's script, and a lot of the movies that he's written and not directed just didn't go very well. And I wonder if it's just something in his script that he knows how it is in his head, but it doesn't translate to if you just read the words to someone else. And it comes across as something else entirely and just not what it feels like it should have been the whole time.
I think that's maybe just part of the thing when you have a unique artistic mind.
Yeah.
I think it would be the same with some other writers, directors.
Oh, absolutely.
Because just think about how I don't know. Like, imagine someone else directed Drive, right? Like, there's so little dialogue in that movie. Like, Refn knows, all right, I'm going to be stylistic here.
It's all on him, isn't it?
Yeah, he's leaving it for him to do. He knows where he's going to fill all this stuff in as a visual style. But
that's not all in the script. It's in his head.
You give it to someone else, and they're like, okay, so this is going to be about, what, 30 minutes long? You know, like, because that's how maybe they'll tackle it. And I'm not saying everyone would do that, but it kind of feels like something was lost in the translation there.
Yeah.
But that said, I do want to emphasise that I do think that as a whole, it still kind of works for the most part, just for what it is.
Yeah, definitely. It's not. It's not bad by any means. I don't think it's good, but I don't think it's bad.
Well, ratings. Out of 10.
I'm juggling between a 5.5 and a 6. Kind of sitting around that range.
I feel like every single time we do this, you're always juggling between
gonna
two.
Go. Well, this is because see, if we'd watched movies that I've seen before, I know I have it in my head already. This is, I finished watching this 10 minutes before we started recording. I'm formulating my thoughts still as we're going through this. I think I'll go with the 6.
I'd also give it a 6. I think it's perfectly watchable.
Yeah.
Some people think there's two camps of people, and this is not the Alien or Aliens is better argument. This is the Alien 3 or Alien Resurrection is better, and it's a completely different type of fight.
Yeah.
And the Alien 3 people think you're crazy if you prefer Resurrection because David Fincher's a better director, and you can see the direction throughout and the style, and I think they both have their faults. Obviously, they have some different faults between them. That's not the same thing in both. But for me, Resurrection is still a kind of a fun watch, whereas Alien 3 is kind of a tedious experience.
I think 3 I felt was kind of all over the place, even just in the terms of like the editing and the cutting and the way it just flows at times.
Yeah.
Whereas this is it's very consistent. It has some tonal issues, but it very much plods along as a film. It functions in its own right at most of the time.
Yeah. Also, they get a little out of jail free card with this one as well, because not only do we accept, okay, this is the hand that we're dealt with Alien 3, but also, okay, it's not really Ripley. So we can do some different stuff and we can get away with it because we don't feel that you're.
Yeah.
We're,
It's
we're
not bastardizing something at that point, something new.
Yeah. So, which admittedly is maybe a little off putting at first as well, because it's like, well, what is this? And I'm watching this weird version of Ripley. But again, this is one of these things where I've just kind of gotten used to what it is over the years, so it just is what it is.
Yeah, it's something that it's like, well, that's what it is, so let's just make the most of it and just go with what is there. But I still think it was the wrong choice, admittedly, but like I say, it is what it is.
I think the wrong choice was made with the previous film, but yeah.
Well, I see. Yeah, it's which is a worse choice. That one then to kill her off, or this one to bring her back. I mean,
well, no. The choice I'm saying was worse wasn't to kill her off. The choice, the entire premise at the start of Alien 3, it was the wrong choice.
Sure.
And if that choice hadn't been made, who's to say what Alien 3 might have ended with? Like,
yeah, and then 4 would have been completely different.
Yeah.
I get your point.
So I think that's where I and yeah, I'm obviously looking forward to Covenant, but we won't get into too many predictions here because we've still got one more to do. We still have Prometheus to watch and discuss before Covenant, so you can
which I have also not seen.
Indeed, so you can look forward to that in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, as for I gave you my rating. I gave you a 6. That's right. I forgot. I thought I hadn't for a second. I was about to do it again.
We don't care that much.
Yeah, ignore me. Actually, I'll tell you what character I kind of like in this. See, Perez, the general who's sort of running the ship.
Yeah.
I kind of like him.
Any particular reason, or just because?
I like his demeanour. I like the way he talks to people. He's got this no-nonsense attitude, even though he's kind of sketchy. Which is actually kind of liked as well. I liked that this wasn't like a sanctioned thing, what they were doing. This was kind of off the books, which is why they were going through these like pirates, essentially, to get their specimens. Also, that man has a glorious set of shoulder hair. So when the alarm goes off and the alien escapes and he sits up out of bed, I have never seen hair that thick on a shoulder in all my life. It is, and I actually have some hair on my shoulders. I'm a pretty hairy fellow. This guy is a goddamn bear. Shocking state of affairs.
I can't argue with that. It was a lot of hair. It is no. You're right, because there's enough hair that you actually notice that's a lot of hair.
Yeah, well, because he's got like a tank top on, right?
Yeah,
and you sort of see the hair coming from under the tank top, like it sort of bushes up.
Yeah,
out on the outside of it, which is why it was noticeable. And obviously there's like a backlight, so you see the light sort of coming through it, so it really like it's just It's a lot. It's a lot of shoulder hair. This is a hairy dude.
Yeah, it is.
Point that out. And I like that he takes out an alien with a grenade, because the alien's in the shuttle, and he's like, well, those soldiers are already dead. Grenade.
Yeah,
that is really cool. Yeah, there you go. So that's Alien Resurrection. Of course, we'll have Prometheus in the next couple of weeks, so look forward to that. Might even be next week, actually. Depends how the schedule works out. But so look forward to that. And obviously Alien Covenant. Thanks for watching, guys. Let us know what you thought of Alien Resurrection in the comments below. Are you more forgiving of it? Do you hate it? Like better or worse than Alien 3?
That's the most important question, isn't it?
Like, subscribe, all that stuff helps us out a lot. Get us on Twitter at mild_fuzz for channel updates. Individual Twitters, I'm at Wibble89, Connor's at ConnorRyan94. But that's us, guys. So thanks for watching. Keep watching movies. We'll see you next time.